Never let anybody see you sweat.
So I was born in New York City, and I lived there until I was 8 years old. I realized that I was a much better talker than I was a listener. I don't know what to say, I just don't like what you're saying.
Sorry, Your Honor.
I ended up going to law school at Georgetown, and I was a prosecutor for Janet Reno. I loved it because it was so raw. Were you cheating on her?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
All rise.
Our show will be a mixture of education, I think you're misreading the law a little bit, and entertainment. My main goal is justice and the law. That's been my legacy, and the legacy I hope to continue into the future with the show.
Elizabeth Carey claims she was shocked when she discovered her ex-husband purchased a hamster for their son without telling her. Fred Darian says his ex overreacted and traumatized their son by killing his pet.
Okay, Miss Carey, you are suing your former husband, Mr. Darian, for $1,000 for therapy for your son because, according to you, that therapy was caused by his actions. How long were you two married?
We're married for about 5 years.
Okay, and how old is your child?
Our child's 7 now.
Okay, and the child, what's the child's name?
Skylar.
Skylar. So, what happened here? Your husband bought your child a pet, apparently without your consent.
Yeah, we've been separated for 2 years. We had an agreement that we would discuss anything that happened in our individual households that might pertain to each other. He had bought Skylar.
That might pertain to the child, you mean?
Might pertain to the child and each other. Like if the child came over, like if I put Skylar into piano lessons,
right,
then I would tell Fred,
okay,
so that that he could also practice at Fred's house.
Okay.
So I thought if he got Skylar a hamster, he would tell me. However, he didn't tell me, and Skylar had.
Why didn't you tell her? That's kind of something that would come up, right?
Yeah, Your Honor. We agreed to discuss things that were big. That were, big, like, Skylar got straight A's, or Skylar's going to a new grade. We didn't agree to discuss small things, and
you consider the purchase of a pet a small thing?
Purchase of a hamster.
Of a hamster, right? Except you told Skylar not to tell his mother. Is Skylar a boy or a girl?
Skylar's a boy.
You told Skylar not to tell his mother.
Well, this was exclusively a dad and son activity.
No, but yeah, see, if it's not a big deal, what difference does it make if he tells his mother? Why would you tell him to keep something from his mother?
I didn't explicitly tell him not to say, and I figured that
you did. You admitted you did.
I knew that he's a kid. He wouldn't really listen even if I did say that.
But you did say that to him, didn't you? You told him, don't tell your mother.
Yes, because she likes to make big deals out of really small things.
Okay, but see, that's the thing. When we're deciding whether the hamster is a big or a small deal, maybe mentioning it becomes more of a thing that you should have done, because you know that somehow she's going to overreact. So you not only don't bring it up when it sounds like you should, you also tell your child to lie to his mother, which is like a special kind of evil. Don't do that, ever. That is a really, really bad thing to do, to tell a child to lie to the other parent. That's awful, especially when you're like in a situation like this where it's already stressed and you're trying to co-parent effectively. Nothing can tube your efforts to co-parent faster than starting to tell the kid to lie to the other parent. But what happens? The hamster's supposed to stay at your house.
Yeah,
And did it?
No, it did not, but I wasn't aware of that.
What did Skylar do?
So, I dropped Skylar off at his mom's place. I came back, and typically we feed the hamster in the mornings and whatnot. I wake up in the morning, I go down, I leave it some food. I assume that it's just playing in its cage like it normally does. It's in the corner, eating, hiding, whatever.
Except for you don't see the hamster.
I didn't see it, no, but I don't always see it when I leave it food, and it's usually there.
But how big is the cage that you don't see the hamster when you leave it food? It's inches from your hand.
Yeah, it's really small, and there's a lot of those little flake things, those little
Yeah,
hay
but what do you
pieces.
think, that the thing burrows all the way under the flakes and you don't see any of it?
Well, sometimes it's in the corner hiding, right?
How long have you had the hamster?
Just a couple days.
Okay. So you don't see the hamster, and it doesn't occur to you that the child took the hamster?
No, it doesn't, but...
Okay, you tell me, what ends up happening, Ms. Carey, at your house?
Well, so I picked Skylar up from school that day. We hug hello, sweet hello. Skylar, I guess, had snuck the hamster over to my house in his backpack. I had no idea. Then Saturday morning, I'm making breakfast downstairs because Skylar and I have pancake breakfast together. And so I'm getting everything ready, like cutting the strawberries. I suddenly see this thing scurrying around the kitchen, and I start screaming. I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, our house is very clean, and I'm a very clean person. So I get very startled and reactionary, and so I start throwing things. Like, I throw the spatula, then I have to turn off the burner. Like, there's just so much going on now that this rodent is running around. And I grab the salt shaker.
You couldn't tell it was a hamster?
I couldn't tell it was a hamster. I thought it was a rat.
Coming up on Justice for the People.
They do look different.
Yes, they do, but I started just kind of freaking out.
So what did you throw at the hamster?
I threw a salt shaker.
Okay.
Which did end up killing the hamster.
And later,
part of what I do is house items, so doing laundry, dishes, picking up around the house as a nanny.
So she's not allowed in the kitchen without you?
if you'll be in the Los Angeles area and want to bring your case to court, call 1-888-552-6878. This is Justice for the People with Judge Milian. We're back with a case of Elizabeth Carey, who blames her ex-husband, Fred Darian, for a hamster calamity.
Because they look a little different. Not terribly different, but they do look different.
Yes, they do, but I started just kind of freaking out.
So what did you throw at the hamster?
I threw a salt shaker.
Okay.
Which did end up killing the hamster. And
where's Skylar while all this is happening?
so Skylar's still in bed because I surprised him with pancakes. Like, it's 8 a.m. He's still asleep.
Well, pancakes aren't the only thing you surprised him with, though.
You're right.
So Skylar comes down when he hears a commotion.
Skylar hears me screaming.
Yeah.
Skylar comes downstairs, sees his hamster dead on the floor.
At this point, did you realize it was a hamster?
Not until Skylar sees the hamster. Skylar starts screaming and crying hysterically.
And what was he saying?
Skylar says, my hamster Penny, my hamster Penny. I'm like, you have a hamster? And he's like, Dad, Dad. And I'm like, what? Tell me. He's like, Dad bought me a hamster and I brought it over here because I didn't want to leave it.
And where did he put the hamster? And why did he take the hamster out of there? I know he's 7 and that's the answer, but why did he take the hamster out of Dad's house when told not to, when told this is a dad house pet? It's a lot.
Exactly, and he shouldn't have had the hamster in the first place or lied about it. And so obviously a 7-year-old is not that responsible for taking care of a pet. Like, there was no cage for the hamster at my house.
Yeah.
Like, Skylar had the hamster for about just from Friday till Saturday morning.
At your house?
At my house.
Well, did you ever talk with Skylar and find out where he was hiding it and what his game plan was?
He was hiding the hamster in his bed that night.
In his bed?
Yeah, he was just sleeping with the hamster.
Like, wait, the hamster's not going to stay in the bed.
No, he was just sort of keeping it at the bottom,
he's 7.
under all the blankets.
Okay,
yeah, exactly. He was just being a kid, know?
Right.
He didn't really have any foresight.
He must have been so upset when he saw the hamster.
He was so upset, and I felt so guilty.
Okay. And so you took him, apparently you spoke to his pediatric doctor who said he should go to therapy.
Yeah, so Skylar wouldn't go to school on Monday. So Sunday, I tried to take him to the fair. Skylar was just so upset at me, at himself, at his dad. It started sort of escalating into this whole thing of why did you and Dad get divorced? It really sort of kept piling on itself. And Skylar just kept crying. And Monday, he wouldn't go to school. And so then Tuesday, I called. His pediatric doctor recommended that I take him to a child psychologist.
And did you take him?
Yeah. So I couldn't get an appointment until about a week later.
All right. Once you took him, you had him see the psychiatrist.
Yeah.
Psychiatrist or psychologist?
Psychologist.
Okay, the psychologist. And you got a price and everything else, right?
Yep.
And then you called Dad to say our kid is seeing a therapist.
Well,
he didn't tell you about the hamster, but you didn't tell him about the therapist.
I had actually reached out to him, asking him to split the therapy with him, me.
But you had already met with the therapist.
Completely, yes. I had kind of on our initial call when I got mad at him about getting the hamster in the first place, I said, I'm going to put our son into therapy. And he was just busy because he's an accountant and he's always just prioritizing work. And so he's like, okay, Elizabeth, whatever.
Do you feel any blame for anything that happened or no?
Look, I feel really bad to what happened to my son.
Yeah, but that wasn't my question. I asked if you felt like you can blame yourself. Do you feel like you contributed to this whole thing, or you feel like it was all her doing that caused the problem?
Maybe I should have mentioned the hamster. I do feel sorry about that. But she's ultimately the one that killed it. What kind of person throws a
person who thinks it's a rat?
But
I mean, she's panicking and, you know.
I mean, you said it yourself. It's pretty easy to tell the difference between a hamster and a rat.
It's not. I don't know if it's that easy. I said that. I do feel like they look different, but they look different when you put a picture of one and a picture of the other in front of me. They may not look that different when they're in my kitchen. So why is he having to pay the whole thing if you guys agreed to split things?
Because initially I asked him for half and he disagreed, and I have a picture.
So now you got to punish him? Don't you feel? Let me ask you the same question I asked him. You don't think like part of it might be your fault?
I do feel very guilty for killing the hamster. Yeah.
And his doctor suggested that it would be in his best interest, then you folks have rules for this. It's called your divorce decree, where you're supposed to be paying half of his necessary medical bills. Nobody sits around saying, who gave him the cold? That's not how it works. It's the child needs it, and you're both supposed to pay half. As luck would have it, you're both kind of responsible anyway, because you apparently have a child who's going to smuggle a hamster. This is something that you maybe should have predicted and checked for the hamster and frisked him before he left your house, I don't know, and made sure that the hamster was there. So you have some complicity in this too, especially, I really hate the fact, I don't think it has anything to do with this, but I hate the fact, well, maybe it does. Maybe that's half of what he wanted to go to therapy for. We don't know. But I hate the fact that you told, don't ever do that again. Promise me you're not going to do that again. That really hurts your kid when you tell your kid to lie to the other parent.
I promise.
Don't do that again. Okay. All right. The sessions were $1,000 total. I'm gonna order you to pay her $500, and each of you are gonna end up eating half of that like you're supposed to. Okay?
Judge Milian has ruled in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant owes $500.
Fine. I'll pay it.
I still think you should pay the whole thing, but that's fine.
Coming up.
All right, so on the day in question, when the tablet breaks, what's going on?
I had to get up to use the restroom. I went to use the restroom. As I'm walking back, I can hear the tablet hit the floor. I've got hardwood floors.
This is Justice for the People with Judge Milian. Hannah Berlin claims she is owed a new tablet after the 9-year-old she cares for dropped it. Susan Garrett says her former nanny took the risk by letting her daughter use the fragile device.
Ms. Berlin, you are suing Ms. Garrett for $400 that you say she owes you because her daughter damaged your tablet. Tell me what happened.
Yes, ma'am. I have been Susan's nanny for just over 2 years for her daughter, Riley. She's 9 years old, and she struggles with a lot of behavioral issues that are caused by ADHD.
Okay. And what do you mean by that? By behavioral issues, what exactly do you mean?
Misbehaving, fidgeting, getting distracted. The other day, or excuse me, a few days before this incident, she knows that she's not supposed to go in the kitchen without either letting me know or asking me to go with her.
You're taking care of her at that point at your house or at her house?
I always take care of Riley at her house.
At her own house.
So we're in her home. Part of what I do is house items, so doing laundry, dishes, picking up around the house as a nanny.
So she's not allowed in the kitchen without you?
Without at least asking for my permission.
All right, so on the day in question when the tablet breaks, what's going on?
On the particular night of the incident, we actually happened to be at my home, which Susan did request. We had spent a couple hours using the toys that she had brought over. It was getting late. It was about a half an hour before Susan was supposed to come pick her up, and she kept asking for her tablet. Her mom didn't bring hers over, so finally I let her use mine. We were at our house, but I did tell her she needed to stay on the couch and be with me. I had to get up to use the restroom. I went to use the restroom. As I'm walking back, I can hear the tablet hit the floor. I've got hardwood floors. Riley was upset, of course, and I comforted her. I know it was an accident.
Right?
She's a child, but it did shatter.
Coming up.
Let me hear from you, Ms. Garrett. How long has she been your nanny, Ms. Burt? Well, I presume she's no longer the nanny.
Hello, Your Honor. So she's been...
I presume she's no longer the nanny. Is that correct?
Correct. She's not.
This is Justice for the People with Judge Milian. We're back with the case of Hannah Berlin, who brought Susan Garrett to court over a shattered tablet.
Let me hear from you, Ms. Garrett. How long has she been your nanny, Ms. Berlin? Well, I presume she's no longer the nanny.
Hello, Your Honor. So
I presume she's no longer the nanny. Is that correct?
Correct. She's
Okay.
not. So she's been my nanny. She was my nanny for the past 2 years, and she clearly knows that she has ADHD. She
Not the
knows that
question.
she clearly
Please
knows
don't
that she
interrupt
has
her.
ADHD. She knows that she's fidgety. She knows that she's everywhere. And then within the past year, she raised up her price to $120 when she used to charge me $79. But at that, Judge, I was okay with that. I was okay. I was like, okay, you know what? She does need that extra supervision. She does need that extra care. And, you know, she has been good to my daughter. It's not like she hasn't. She has been great with Riley.
When was the last time she saw Riley? The night this happened?
Correct. It was the night that it happened.
And does Riley miss her? Has Riley asked, what's the deal? What's going on? Where's...
You know what? Riley did miss her. Riley does like her a lot. But just the fact that it was her responsibility. I didn't give her permission. She went ahead and gave her tablet, which she clearly said that...
Talk to me, not her, please.
She clearly said that she used it for work. So
Right.
why would you even let my daughter, Riley, use a tablet that I didn't even give her permission to use?
Your Honor, may I-
I'm sorry.
and
Were you supposed to send a tablet with Riley?
No, she asked me for toys. So when she asked me for toys and stuff that she gets entertained with, I sent her with a couple of stuff to go to her house and, you know, so she can get entertained. She clearly did not think when she gave her the tablet.
Judge Milian's verdict when Justice for the People returns. This is Justice for the People with Judge Milian.
You're in charge of supervising the child.
She was under
So
her care.
no one's asking you a question, all right? The person in charge of the child was you. And then
Yes, Your
you
Honor.
tell me how she's a basket case, basically, just over her ADHD, which really, I question whether you all appreciate what that actually means. It doesn't mean they're bouncing off the walls, like, you know, I mean, that's not how it is. But in any event, you know, if you feel that that's what it means, then I suggest you not leave your $400 laptop from work in her hand. Just put the TV on like the rest of us to entertain her and go to the ladies' room and then come back, you
Right.
know?
We were at my home and I only have one streaming service. She likes to watch her shows on
Well,
YouTube.
then she
which I
doesn't
have-
get to watch it while you're on the toilet. I don't know how to make myself clear. It's just not that complex. But when you make that decision, then accidents can happen. And the person under whose regime they happened was yours, not hers. So I am not going to order her to pay you. Verdict for the defendant.
All rise.
Judge Milian has ruled in favor of the defendant. The plaintiff's claim is denied.
I don't agree. I don't think that
It
I
don't
should
matter
have
what
had
you
to
agree.
carry
It's
this
already done. It's
expense
already- it's
myself that
already
was
done.
done by your child.
It don't matter.
This has been a production of Allen Media Group.